Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Well, you're going to love this video because this video is all about how to set up a model inside the new Radiomaster TX16S Mark II. So you probably bought yourself a drone, a plane, a helicopter, a boat or something, and you want to set up a model inside and then bind it to that item. I'm a drone guy. That's why I'm called Captain Drone. So I'm going to show you how to set up a drone. So sit back, get a notepad, get a coffee. It's only going to take about 15 minutes. I'll show you how to set up your drone, then I'll show you how to bind your drone to the radio, then I'll show you how to set your drone up in Betaflight, and you're all set to go flying. So here we go. With your Radiomaster powered on, push in the scroll wheel and this menu will pop up. Tap on the select model item. Next, tap on quad and select duplicate model. The radio will then create a second model of quad. Now all you have to do is find it. So find the second model and tap on it. A menu will pop up and all you have to do is tap on select model. Now press the physical MDL model button on your radio. We are now in the model setup screen. This is where you're going to name your drone. So look at your drone. What's it look like? Does it have a name? Type in a name you like. I'm going to call mine God Quad. When you're done, tap on the enter button. Next, we have to pick a picture for our quad that's going to show on our display screen. We're going to pick one that's already preloaded, but you can add your own in the future if you wish. Scroll to the bottom of the screen and select X220. You can take a look at the picture you selected by hitting the return button. When you're ready to go back to the model setup screen, just press the MDL model button. This next part is optional and it shows you how to put a timer in your radio. Set it up. Say you have a drone that only flies for 5 minutes, put a 5-minute timer. You can have multiple timers, so it's a good idea to name them. I've named this one time. Next, for mode to start the timer, I'm going to select throttle percentage. Next, I have to pick a switch so the radio knows if this switch is flicked and I hit the throttle, it should start activating. So here's my arm switch. That's the switch you're going to pick. Just flick it and leave it in the up position like you see on the screen. Now go back to your main screen and you will see now that it is showing SF with an arrow pointing down, and that's the one you want. Next, you have to tell the radio how many minutes you want it to count down from. So I'm going to start mine at 5 minutes. Next, make sure where it says minute call that it's selected, so select it. Then countdown, you don't want it to be silent, obviously, you want to hear it, so put a voice so it speaks to you, and you want it to start counting down at about maybe 30 seconds. And yeah, you want it to be persistent while you're flying. When completed, press the return button once or twice, however many times, until you get back to the main screen, because we're going to test out our timer to make sure it works. So we see right off the bat, it is showing 5 minutes. Now to activate it, remember we have an arm switch and a throttle. So let's pretend we arm the motors on the drone, push it up. Now let's move the throttle up as if the motors are getting power, and it should start counting down so it works. Eureka! Now let's pretend we're landing the drone. So we're going to kill the throttle, bring it down, and we're going to kill the arm switch to stop the motors. Now we want our timer to go back to 5 minutes. So all you have to do is touch the menu bar and then select telemetry. So scroll over, you'll see reset telemetry and then reset timer 1 because it was the first timer we made and it goes back to 5 minutes. Now press the MDL model button and we want to go to the inputs menu. So at the top of the screen you see I'm clicking on the different menus. I'm going to go all the way over until I find inputs. There it is. Perfect. This is where we're going to add our arm switch and our mode switch. So go down to number 5, tap on it, select edit. And now for input name, the first one, we're going to call it ARM, A-R-M. And then we have to pick the source. Go down to source, click on source. And now remember that arm switch, that SF switch at the bottom, and I said leave it in the up position. Move it up and down or just move it up. And you'll see on the screen it is showing switch SF. So tap on it and we're all good. Now we just have to go back to the previous screen. So hit the return key. Now go down to number 6 and we're going to add our modes. So edit. And input name is going to be mode, M-O-D-E. Go down to source and look at the switch we're going to pick for our mode switch. So right beside the SA button, flick that switch back and forth. Modes are the flight modes. So you have acro mode, horizon mode, and angle mode. This is going to allow you to pick the different flight modes. Now press the return button and go back to the inputs menu. Everything looks great. Now go up to your menu bar at the top and select mixes. It's the next one over. Look at 5 and 6. There's no information, so let's edit that. We know that channel 5, we want it to be ARM, so just type in ARM. And hit enter. Now let's go hit the return button and go to channel 6. We're going to edit that one. And there we go, edit. And this one's going to be mode. So go up to the name, mix name, MODE, MODE, hit enter, and then hit our return key. And we're doing pretty good. Next, we're going to assign voices to our switches. So take a look at the menu bar. Keep on tapping until you get to special functions. Okay, let's get started. Tap SF1 right at the top. Now, what switch do you want to assign? This is going to be our ARM switch, so tap it. Go and find your ARM switch. So you see that switch there? You can move it up and down. That starts and stops our motors. At least that's what we want to. So we want it to say ARM when it's in the up position. So I've left it in the up position, so it's SF with the arrow pointing down. That's good. Next, we have to pick what function. The function is going to be play track. Select that. What value? Here is where you pick the word to be spoken. Just pick the first one, ARMED, ARMED. You could pick another one if you wish. So now, as you flick that switch, the radio will say armed when it's in the up position. Press the return button, and now let's go add another switch function. So SF2, touch that. What switch are we going to use? We're going to use our mode switch. Now you have to be very careful. You see the mode switch has 3 modes, up, middle, and down. We want to start with the one that's all the way to the top, so up. That is going to be our horizon mode. So select the SA arrow pointing up. Now the next thing you're going to pick for function is play track. Scroll down until you see play track. And then what's the value going to be? Well, on this radio, you have to find FM horizon. So go down to FMs. You see I'm scrolling here. There it is. FM HOR. That's what you want. Perfect. Do you want to hear what it sounds like? Check it out.
Flight mode horizon. Flight mode horizon.
To go back to the special function menu, just press the return button several times until you see special functions. There we are. Now go down to number 3, and the switch is now going to be the one in the middle position. So move it to the middle. Here we go. And now that's going to be our angle mode. So down on the screen, you're going to pick SA minus, and then the function is going to be play track. And then we're going to go to FM angle. So go down to FM, which is flight mode, and then angle. You'll see it. It's going to pop up in a second. FM angle ANG. Select that one. And if you want to hear what it sounds like this.
Flight mode horizon. Flight mode angle.
Once again, press the return key to go back to the special functions menu and go down to SF4. This is our last one. This is going to be our acro mode. So go back up to that switch, our mode switch, and pull it all the way towards you, all the way down. There you go. That's going to be the acro mode. That's what we're going to set it to. So on our screen, select the SA down arrow. And then for the function, it's going to be play track again. So go down to play track, select that. And then the value is going to be flight mode acro. So scroll on down until you find FM-ACR, something like that. There it is right there. Select it. And this is what all the flight modes sound like.
Flight mode angle. Flight mode horizon. Flight mode acro.
Now press the return key several times until you get back to the main menu. This is the part of the tutorial where you're going to bind your drone to the radio. So you're going to need your drone and a battery to power your drone. Here we go. So press the MDL button to get back into our model setup. Now let's scroll down until we find our transmitter. It is a radio, and it is going to send out a radio signal. So we got to go all the way down until we find that portion of the radio. Keep on scrolling. Internal RF, internal radio frequency. mode, multi. That's what it should say. So it's correct on the screen. RF protocol. This is where you have to know what type of receiver is in your drone. When you ordered your drone, what type of receiver did you order inside it? So if you know that information, it's too easy to select it from the menus right here. When you have all that information, then you're going to go down to the bind button. By pressing that bind button, that's how you start the process of binding the radio to the drone. So click on it. Nothing's going to happen. Just leave it at that menu screen. Now we have to go to our drone, whatever drone you have. My drone is a little drone and it has an FrSky XM Plus receiver in it. This is what it looks like. I'm pointing at the receiver here and I'm pointing at the bind button. It's a little button you press down that puts the receiver into bind mode. So I'm showing you the back of it. You can't really see it. Wires are there. If you don't know where your receiver is, just follow the antennas that stick out the back of the drone. They all connect to the receiver. So on the receiver, the way it works is you have to press that button and then give your drone battery power. So you see I've pressed the button in, now I plug in the battery. That causes that receiver to go in bind mode. Now for an FrSky XM Plus, when it goes in the bind mode, I get a red light and a green light. And that's a good sign. So if you have the same receiver, you should see that. It means it is waiting for a signal from the radio. So next we have to go back to our radio. We already pressed that bind option and it came up with telemetry 1 to 8. I just leave it on that. You can leave it on that as well. Don't worry about any changing it to anything else. And then just push in the scroll wheel. It starts to bind and you see now our lights are flickering because it has bound. The radio and the drone are now one. Now when you do this, please take the props off. I'm leaving the props on because I've been doing this for years, but you see I'm trying the arm switch and it arms, so it means the radio is talking to the drone. But the arm button is in the wrong direction, so we got to fix that. But before that, we'll quickly set up our failsafe. You see the failsafe option here. Just select no pulses. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to configure the flight controller on your drone in Betaflight. So start up your radio, make sure you install Betaflight on your PC or your Mac. Everything is good to go. You have your model selected and make sure all your switches are pointing away from you. No switches pointing up. We want to start on a clean slate, and also make sure that your throttle on the left is all the way down, and we're ready to go. Other items you're going to need for this would be obviously your drone, a battery to power it, and a USB cable. Make sure you take the props off your drone if you're a newbie. If you're watching this video, I'm going to guess you're a newbie, so take the props off. Once again, I've been doing this for years, so I leave the props on. So plug in a battery into your drone. Look for the USB port. You'll find it on your drone. It's always around the flight controller. Plug in the cable. The other end of the cable, plug it into your PC or your Mac while Betaflight is running. And what's going to happen is as soon as you plug it in and your drone is powered on with a battery, you're going to see the COM port's going to activate, and all of a sudden Betaflight's going to talk to your drone. Hit the connect button that I'm pointing at and watch what happens. Lift up your drone, and as you move your drone around, your movements will be reflected in Betaflight. Now take a look at the left-hand side of your Betaflight screen and find the receiver option. Click on it. What we want to do is make sure our radio is connected to our drone. They're talking together, so move the joysticks on the radio and you should see the bars on the screen move. That means your radio and your drone are talking together. If it doesn't work, it means you have done something wrong, so retrace your steps. Now take a look at the left-hand side of Betaflight and go to the modes option. Click on it. Now pick up your radio and flick that arm switch. Notice the red option in Betaflight. That means disarmed. So when the switch is down, it's disarmed, and when it's up, it's armed. That's what we want. The problem is, see that yellow bar? It should be slid over to the right. So your goal is to make your screen look like my screen. Now we're going to set up the angle and horizon modes on that mode switch, the one I'm pointing at right here, so you know that farthest away from you is horizon and middle is angle. So let's start with angle. So all you have to do is go to where it says angle and select auto. Now move the switch on the radio and that will switch to aux 6, and that's what you want. Then make sure your yellow bar looks sort of like my yellow bar right in the center. And do exactly the same for horizon mode. So on horizon mode, make sure it was on auto, flick the switch, it will switch to aux 6. Make sure that yellow bar is sitting right where it's showing on my screen. Make sure all your yellow bars look like mine. Then go to the bottom right hand corner, click on that save button, and all your settings will be saved to the flight controller on the drone, and you're pretty much done. You just have to hit the exit button at the top right, take the battery out, take the USB plug out, and if you want to test it to make sure everything works, you can play with that arm switch in the flight modes and everything should work perfectly. And there you have it. Hopefully you had no issues. The only issue I could see most people having in my video tutorial is you really don't know what receiver is in your drone and you've selected the wrong one, so it's not going to bind, or you didn't put your receiver into bind mode properly. Second thing is a lot of people with Betaflight, they have Betaflight on their PC or Mac, and when you connect via USB your drone to your computer or Mac, your PC or Mac, all of a sudden Betaflight doesn't recognize anything. The COM port doesn't work. If the COM port doesn't work, it means one of two things. One is that you are using a very cheap USB cable. A lot of USB cables are only made to charge up things. They're not made to send data both ways. So look around your house, find another USB cable. Second issue could be that you plugged in that USB cable into the wrong port. See if your drone's got more than one port to plug in the USB cable, because you might have it in the wrong port. The only other possible issue could be that your computer is so old that you need some drivers, and on Betaflight on the front screen it says, hey, download these drivers. That's for old PCs or Macs. So with all of that said, I say thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, please. I would appreciate that. And watch more of my videos for cool stuff like you just saw on tutorials. All right, guys, catch you in the next one. Bye.